Few cars in India have made as many red carpet appearances as the Audi Q7. The vehicle of choice for our country's film stars and industrialists, it's also the model that established Audi as a maker of luxury SUVs. But there's a new one coming out soon, and one that Audi promises delivers more in terms of efficiency, luxury, performance, and even driving dynamics. I'm in Switzerland to find out if it delivers on that promise.
The original Q7 really stood out for its size. The new one is quite different on that front. And that's because it's actually a full 370mm shorter in length, though overall height is still the same. In dimensions, it's more like an XXL size Q5 now. As for the design, it looks every bit a modern Audi. The single frame grille from the earlier Q7 has found its way here too, but in more angular form. In fact, angular Qs dominate the entire styling. Skinning on the bonnet and elsewhere on the body is also tight and gives the car an athletic look. There's nothing extraordinary about the rear, but you will find crisp, clean lines here as well. The sharper new form, along with improvements to underbody airflow, also means the Q7 cuts through the air far more effectively now.
But for all its aerodynamic improvements, the new Q7 doesn't have the imposing look or even the flash value of its predecessor. It looks more like a high-riding station wagon than a big burly SUV. I wonder how Indian buyers will take to that.
To be honest, it's not the looks but what lies beneath that really defines this generation of the Q7. While this may be the first product to be built on the VW Group's new MLB or longitudinal platform, what's of interest to buyers is that this gen of the Q7 weighs a full 300 kgs less than its predecessor. Equally remarkable is that despite the smaller size, Audi claims to have scooped out greater cabin space too. The rearmost row has benefited with more headroom, though it's still a tight fit for average-sized adults. But to most Indian owners, it's the comfort in the second row that'll be of greater importance.
For Q7 owners who are going to be primarily chauffeur-driven, there's plenty of good news in here. There's more space than before, well, even more space than before because there's more headroom, more legroom and more width in general. Seat comfort has also improved, and what I also like is the large windows that make the whole cabin feel airier still.
Visibility up front is excellent too, and there's a huge range of adjustments for the comfy throne-like seats. But it's the new dashboard that really leaves the lasting impression.
The new Q7's cabin is quite a departure from the old cars. The new dashboard is quite low-set and makes the cabin look quite sporty in that sense. But in typical Audi fashion, everything is just where you want it to be placed and the whole layout is quite neat. Passengers have this 8.3-inch retractable screen to get all the information they need, but the highlight for me is this digital instrument cluster. It's something we've seen in the TT before, and it displays everything from the speedometer to the tachometer and can also be adjusted to show you the navigation and infotainment readouts. It looks quite futuristic and just adds that little bit of a technical touch to this already well-finished cabin.
Audi has upped the game in terms of quality too. There's high-quality leather, metal and soft-touch plastics throughout the cabin. This is a proper luxury SUV in that sense. There's quite a lot to talk about in the mechanicals as well. As before, the Q7s for India will come powered by Audi's 3-litre V6 turbo diesel engine. Power is now up to 268 bhp and torque is a healthy 61 kgm. An 8-speed gearbox will be standard fit on all Q7s and paddle shifters will be standard as well. Of course, power is channeled to the wheels via Audi's Quattro all-wheel drive system. Also, the double wishbones of the previous Q7 have made way for 5 link units at each end. Enough facts and figures.
So how does it all come together? Well, to be honest, pretty well. I've just been driving the Q7 3-litre TDI for a few minutes and I can already tell you that this is a very different car. The engine can just do so much more because of the lighter curb weight. The Q7 now feels quite fleet-footed and there's a general eagerness about the car that wasn't there before. There's sufficient poke when you're starting out, and the mid-range also has enough grunt to propel you to, well, illegal speeds.
What also leaves an impression is the level of refinement in the cabin. The engine is superbly isolated from the cabin and remarkably free of vibration for the diesel. There's little disturbance from road irregularities either because the suspension just works that well.
The old Q7 was available with an air suspension as standard, so it's safe to assume the new one will come with it as well. As before, you can adjust the suspension settings between modes, and there are a few more customization options this time around. There haven't been too many bumps en route, but the few ones we have experienced, this one isolates you better. Interestingly, even in the sportiest dynamic setting, you do notice that the dampers have firmed up, but you don't lose all that much in terms of ride quality, but you do gain a fair bit in terms of agility.
All well, but what of the handling?
The Q7 has taken a big stride in that department as well. Body control is better, it corners with more poise, more conviction, and there's a nice directness to the steering in dynamic mode as well. This is no Cayenne, but for most it will be engaging enough.
Unfortunately, we didn't have a chance to venture off-road, but if it's comparable to the old one on that front, it should be sufficient for the Q7's Indian clientele. The new Q7 should come to India around Diwali. Prices are likely to be higher than the outgoing ones and are expected to start around 68 lakh rupees this time around.
The new Q7 is noticeably better than its predecessor. Given that the outgoing Q7 is still pulling in buyers, it goes without saying that this one has the makings of becoming a blockbuster sequel, and one that's likely to become a regular on the red carpet too.